So I spent the last week freezing me bloody toes off at Sundance, but while I was there, I spoke with Taika Waititi. Do you guys know Taika? He's amazing. Yeah. About his hilarious film, The Hunt for the Wilder People, which I hope you guys are able to see because it's so damn good. He did What We Did in the Shadows as well.
Absolutely amazing film.
He's also directing Thor Ragnarok, so we did talk about that a little bit. We touched on sort of Hulk as becoming more or less conscious, how Marvel is making those decisions, what the long-term repercussions are. But one thing that also really struck me was that I asked him about Loki and said, you know, this franchise has been so dependent on Loki. Does it really need Loki? And he sort of hedged a bit. He was lovely, by the way. And he said, you know, my real goal is to make Thor the most interesting character in this franchise, which arguably is good when the movie is called Thor: stuff. Yeah. But I ask us, is this right now kind of Loki's franchise, and how do we turn that around? Not by we, I mean Taika and the people at Marvel, because we have nothing to do with it. No. Clark?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so far, you know, look, I love Chris Hemsworth and I love him as Thor. And I think, you know, one of the things about him, yes, he's striking. He's a very attractive man and he's a good actor, but he is so funny. Chris Hemsworth is funny. And, you know, I've always enjoyed Thor when he plays with the other Avengers. And I like his solo movies okay. But I agree. I think that for some reason, those movies haven't quite let Thor really be Thor and let him excel and like bring out the best qualities in him. Loki has been the most interesting character, and of course, not to disparage anything Tom Hiddleston is doing because he's incredibly talented as well. And villains are often more interesting. Yeah. So
not in Marvel, really, though.
That's true.
That is.
Yeah. That's true. And,
Loki's
and to call Loki a villain,
exception. Yeah.
I mean, you know, especially in the Thor movies, he's like anti-hero.
He's becoming. Yeah. He was like a. I feel like he's becoming an anti-hero, right? They're trying to turn.
At the same time, him taking over Odin's throne,
sure, kind of a crap thing to do.
Kind of a step in the wrong direction for that character. But to continue the conversation, I think, weirdly, I mean, it kind of sucks to say, if not only because I don't hate the Thor movies, but I do feel like it is the weakest franchise. Like both Thor, I think Thor Dark World is kind of the weakest Marvel movie overall. I don't love Thor. They do have humor in their back pocket, which is something that, I mean, throughout all Marvel movies, that's what they excel with. But in terms of the conversation about like just making Thor become the central character, I think Hulk will weirdly kind of improve that in a weird way.
I agree.
Simply because you are not necessarily having the dichotomy between antagonist and protagonist immediately. You're just having these two protagonists who also, I mean, we don't know what on earth they're doing just yet, but honestly, just drawing the focus back to Thor. And Hulk is going to be serving within a Thor story, so there is just going to be that much more focus on God of Thunder.
Right, I agree. I actually love Chris Hemsworth as well.
Absolutely,
and I think he's a great Thor, and I think he really shines when you see him in these other movies, and he shines as Thor, but Loki has been such an interesting dynamic character, and I think if I'm putting all the pieces together, here's my pitch for what's going to happen in this movie. All right, so Loki's taking over the throne, right? He's batty, so naughty. Thor needs to go find his dad, Odin, because he figures it out. Then it's like a buddy cop adventure in space to find Odin with Thor and the Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, because we just learned that Cate Blanchett is joining.
It's been rumored that she's going to be Hela.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So in that mix, and maybe even like this is the one where they start redeeming Loki even more. I'm not sure, but I think that it's interesting because the Hulk isn't verbal yet. Entirely, but still, even if he's a little bit verbal, he's not going to be entirely verbal. But the chemistry between those two characters, even we saw it in the Avengers, is so palpable that I think Thor begins to shine as set against Hulk, right? Because he becomes a dynamic, rounded character. Yes? Sure. Yeah. We've solved it. You're welcome, Marvel.
Makes sense, yeah.